Good evening,
Hi,
everybody. Let's see who's here.
I'm here. Hi,
Yeah,
George.
David, how are you? Nice to see you.
I'm good. And
Steve
yourself?
and Jocelyn. I'm good. Thank you for asking. Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you could join us tonight. Jocelyn, it's always a pleasure having you here. I don't know. Is your audio on, Jocelyn? Is your mic on?
Audio's on now.
Oh, it is now.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Anybody see anything new here that they didn't see before?
You got some weird thing in the right-hand side. Is that your microphone or?
It is.
Yeah.
I finally broke down and bought a microphone instead of using either the earbuds or the laptop. And sometimes I rely on Steve to tell me whether this thing is sounding better or worse.
Yeah, sounds good.
Sounds good to you? That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Is it is it loud enough?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I was trying it out before about 12 feet from 12 feet, 12 inches from my mouth. It was too quiet.
It does fade a bit when you move away from it. But,
Oh, if I start talking over here as compared to over here?
yeah.
Ah, okay. Well, I'll just not have to move away from it that much. Yeah, I guess it's sensitive to distance. Hi, Steve. What's happening? Okay. Steve will be a few minutes. He's here, but not here. I'm just going to, let's see, who am I adding here? No, I've got everybody. Oh, I have to add Annette. Hi, Annette. Now we've got
Hi,
you
how
in.
are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Everybody having a good summer so far?
Well, so far so good. Still been hot though.
Yeah,
Hmm.
off and on. Yeah.
So, George, I'm fascinated on Facebook. You're posting all these different photos of Europe. I
Yes.
assume Poland. Are they just past photos
Yes.
you've taken? Yeah.
That's right. They are past photos.
Yeah, they look
Yep.
pretty good.
Yeah, I haven't been to Europe for a few years, so yeah, but I was looking at them and I decided, well, everybody else posts some vacation photos, so I thought, well, no, I think I'll
Why
post
not?
a couple,
Yeah.
especially ones that interest me, and I think that they might interest other people too.
Yeah. No, they're good.
There's some cool places. So tonight, I'm going to have a little bit of a discussion about DSLR versus mirrorless cameras. And perhaps I don't know who's got DSLRs still and who has mirrorless cameras. I got rid of my DSLRs and I'm strictly working with a mirrorless camera now. I love it, but it does have its drawbacks too. And maybe you guys can jump in if I've missed anything about the pros and cons of either one once I start getting into that part of the presentation. But even before I do, let's see here. I do have something coming up on the 22nd. So Jeff Shaw will be coming in on the 22nd talking about wedding photography and his approach to it, his workflow, and he may be even talking about how to make money at wedding photography. I have talked about wedding photography and photography in general, both how to lose money and how to make money on it. And I think that for the most part, 75 to 80% of the people who get into, I would think, a professional level of photography where they're actually renting studio space and an office and so on, most of them I have found in the past, I give them anywhere from 2 to 3 years before they close shop. So at least that's been my experience over the 40 years I've been in professional photography. I've watched people come and go, and it was really unfortunate because some of them are really good photographers.
Yeah. Do you find that the iPhone has taken a lot of that away, where people are doing their own photos?
I don't know about that. Um, the interesting thing about iPhone, there are some people who have gotten into a professional level of photography. Now, I'm talking about consumer photography, headshots and
Mm.
weddings and maybe events that are using strictly cell phones to take photographs. The criteria being, where is this going to be used? And that's one of the things that I ask my customers all the time. How are you going to use this? If all they're going to use this headshot for is either a presentation on the web, a PowerPoint presentation, or maybe on a newsletter, they're going to put their little thumb stamp of a headshot, then you don't need a huge camera. You don't need a big camera for that. Even though when I was in professional photography, even though they said that's what they're going to use it for, I still shot at the largest I could possibly shoot because it's been my experience that even though they say, we'll never use that, it'll only be on the web. A couple of months later, they call me up and they say, you know what? We'd like to. We've got a meeting coming up. We'd like to have a poster of this guy that we can blow up to maybe 20 by 24 for the stage. Well, if you shot it on a cell phone, you're SOL. Yep. So, yeah, there are limitations on where smaller cameras can be used effectively in commercial photography. But I think that what's happened is that cell phones have really taken over from DSLRs in the consumer market. When it comes to professional photographers, they're still going for the big cannons, the big guns. Yeah. At least I think they are. I don't know. But it just seems like not only that, there's a certain perception that if you're going to be shooting with a consumer level camera, people are disappointed when they hire you. You come in here with a camera that they also have at home.
Mm.
So if they hire you as a professional, I think there's an expectation that you're going to come in with some impressive cameras. I don't know. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, I think
Absolutely.
you're correct there. It's size matters, as they say. Um,
Yeah, it does.
and I think it gives them more confidence if you've got a very professional camera. It gives them the confidence that you know what you're doing.
It does. And I've related. So we've got a few people coming in from YouTube, so I've posted their little comment here and their reactions. No, I have found, and I've related the story before here, and I had a shoot down in Niagara Falls. Um, it was for a company that made pizza dough and actual pizza pies to send out to pizza places. So the pies were already flat and made, and the edge was all filled with some yummy stuff, I guess. Hang on, I'm just going to do something here. Okay, Steve is in here. Fine. So I got you in here, Steve. Anyway, and what happened was they said we want a video of this brand new process that we're using in making this dough. And I said, well, fine, I can do that. And but I always do a site inspection ahead of time. Call it a recce if you want. but I go down, I have a look at the situation that I'm going to be shooting in, because that will determine what kind of lighting I bring in. It'll determine the, where I'm going to place the camera and the equipment and so forth. And I found that the space was really, really cramped. There was hardly any room for a tripod. I was uh, I was lucky to be able to get a monopod in there. So I went and rented a red camera for the video, and it was small compared to the news cameras that you see, or the studio cameras you see in newsrooms. And the client, I could see, was disappointed in what we brought in, even though the quality exceeded anything else. It really did, but it was small. And he expected a big camera, and I told him that the quality of this particular camera is higher than the quality of our usual larger camera. And I said, you just have to wait and you see until you see the results. And he was pleased with the results, but I know that he expected more, bigger, from a professional outfit. So, yeah, perception is a lot, and that's the same reason that many times when I was doing portraits, although I never needed it, I always wore a light meter around my neck. Because it's a sign of a professional, right? Same reason, I suppose, doctors wear a stethoscope around their neck. I mean, if you go into the hospital, usually doctors have a stethoscope around their neck. You expect that. You get a doctor who doesn't have a stethoscope around his neck going, I'm not sure he's really a doctor.
Yeah. You
Although,
think he's
that's,
a janitor.
yeah, a misconception, right? But
Mm.
but there are expectations that people
Well,
have.
I've found being out when I was at RPG, um, when people see you with a camera and they was, oh, you go in front, give you preferential treatment. And the same when at Gage Park in the greenhouse there. It just seemed to people look at it and think, oh, he must know what he's doing. I've only got a small little camera, so he better go first and take some good photos.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that kind of thing also happens.
Hmm.
So let's see. Popular cameras are the point and shoots, the semi-pro APS-C 24 megapixel cameras, the Pro 24 megapixel full frame cameras, and let's not leave out the Hasselblads, the medium format cameras.
Hmm.
Matter of fact, in some studios, they're still using view cameras, which are 4 by 5 inch cameras that used to take 4 by 5 inch film. I think they still make 4 by 5 inch film, but now they have a digital back on these cameras. So, you're looking at over 60,000 or 60 million pixel backs on
Hmm.
some of these cameras. So, yeah. Okay, so I've kind of done the preview thing here with people. Let's see. It's sad when you think that the perception of the camera is more important than the creativity and experience of the photographer. Yes. And you know what? When it comes to professional photography, and like I say, I was in the trade for 40 years, and we dealt with a lot of companies, a lot of strange people, and a lot of normal people. But the thing is that there is a certain expectation that they expect from a professional photographer. And I used to joke around and I said, if you don't crouch a little bit when you're taking photographs, you don't look like a professional. The more you crouch, the more you look like a professional. And I said as a joke to the people at Mohawk College, I think we should have a specific weekend course on how to crouch to take photographs. Yeah, make it look professional.
Hmm.
Okay, so where are we here? Oh, there I am. Thank you very much. And for those of you who have just joined us, I'm just going to have a look here, make sure I've got everybody in. I do have everybody in. Fantastic. Hi, Scott. Nice to see you here.
Yeah, nice to be back. Nice to be back. Missed last week, but I
That's okay. The nice thing about this chat is that if you miss it, you can catch up on it. If it's something that interests you, you can always go back on YouTube and have a quick look at it. Um, that's always a nice thing to do. As a matter of fact, the class I had today, since we're talking about cameras, because they were asking me about taking photographs with their cell phones. Do they need to really buy a DSLR or a mirrorless camera? And my answer to them was, what are you doing with your photographs? If you're going up to an 8 by 10 print, your cell phone is fine if you know how to use your cell phone properly. If you apply the same rules to your cell phone that you would to a DSLR or mirrorless camera or any other camera, if the rules are right, if you've taken a course in photography, you apply those same principles to your cell phone camera, you're going to get good photographs that are going to be adequate for your needs. And I have found that very, very few people are printing photographs anymore. You know what? Their whole album is on their iPhone. I mean, you're lucky if they download it or, put it on the cloud to preserve it. If they lose their iPhone, they lose their whole 3 years worth of photographs or whatever. So I always encourage them, as soon as you've done taking photographs, make sure you download them and then upload them to the cloud or wherever you want to keep them. But don't just leave them on your phone. But cell phones are quite adequate as far as photography is concerned. Now, if you get into the professional realm, no, they're not adequate. For the consumer crowd, yes. And that's where the camera industry is suffering, is the consumer crowd. Fewer of them are buying DSLR cameras. Now, the interesting thing is, even with my students, they're buying more consumer level cameras that are just dedicated cameras, because these cameras have the manual aperture priority, shutter priority, program modes. They have those modes on them now, so they can use them. And they're small. They fit into a bag. They fit into your pocket. So for travel, they're great. Even when I travel, I take my mirrorless camera, but I don't always take it with me depending on where I'm going, because I know that shots that I'm going to be taking are really personal shots. If I were doing it professionally, yeah, that gear's coming with me, the DSLR or the mirrorless. But other than that, no, I'm using my cell phone a lot too, both for still shots and for video. I don't know about you guys. I Yeah, are you using your cell phones more than you used to? No?
Mm.
Scott is
Yeah,
wagging his
I
head.
find if I'm taking
Yes.
indoors, the pictures come out better without a flash.
Oh, well,
Um,
yeah, you know what? They do. And the interesting thing about it, too, is that the flash on a cell phone is pretty well useless,
hmm.
unless you're 12 inches from the subject.
And I got the 14 Pro, so I've got RAW. I can take RAW photos with it, so it increases the
Oh,
I think it's
yeah.
40.
Yeah, it does.
So, so yeah, but for the rest of it, I prefer the mirrorless because I like to be able to zoom in on certain parts of the photo to see how it works out, which is more difficult with the iPhone.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to quickly talk about the DSLR versus the. Where did I put my little.
I got them both in my hand, so
Oh,
DSLR
yeah,
mirrorless.
yeah, you do. Do you want to show us those again?
Yeah, so there's the
Okay,
DSLR,
right.
and I didn't have a chance to take the lens off. That's the mirrorless.
Okay, yeah.
See if we,
No, nice. You can
yeah,
rely on Steve. Steve has everything.
Mm.
There isn't anything they make or sell that Steve isn't using.
yeah, pretty much.
Okay, well, that's great. Now back to the program at hand. Yeah, I'm going to go through this very quickly. If you guys have anything to contribute to the discussion about DSLR versus mirrorless, just jump in, because if you do have anything, any comments, anything to say, any experiences, I have a few that might not be covered here in this little talk that I have going. Let me see if I can bring this up really quickly here. Okay. So what we're going to be talking about is the DSLR versus the mirrorless, the pros and cons. So DSLR cameras. Now DSLR camera systems, hang on. Well, isn't that funny? I just had my, don't tell me I threw it on the floor. No, okay, no worries. So the DSLR systems are a carryover from the optical systems from film days, really. That's where they originated from. So if we want to look at the pros, is battery life. Because they use an optical viewfinder, that requires no power, so consequently you're not using up power by looking through the viewfinder. It has an optical viewfinder, and the optical viewfinder is, in my estimation, preferred over the electronic viewfinder that you find on a mirrorless camera. That's just my preference. Because I'm used to it, and because I really like seeing through the lens optically. And so that's the one thing. Cost. Many photographers are migrating to newer systems. DSLRs and their lenses are highly affordable, especially on the used market, because a lot of people are getting rid of them. And ergonomics. They're chunkier, heavier bodies, balance better, and especially if you're using a long telephoto lens on them. So there's that advantage. I like a heavier camera on a professional level than something that's light. It's just, again, that's just a personal preference. As far as cons are concerned, there are autofocus limitations with the DSLR. And the autofocus points, as I say here, are typically limited to the center diamond of the frame. Although that's changed a lot too, because they have area autofocus now too for DSLRs. And I think they're also bringing in, of course, things that are AI assisted, like finding faces and eyes and focusing on them. So the other thing about the cons on the DSLR is there's no exposure preview, because you're seeing the light naturally. You can't preview how changing your ISO aperture, white balance, and shutter speed affect your photograph until you take the shot and then review it. Okay, so that's one thing that's a limitation. And video limitations. Video autofocus is often slower, sorry, on a DSLR than it is on a mirrorless camera. Now I'm going to go to mirrorless cameras are widely considered the standard these days for the industry. It's become popularized. It's very popular among professionals, and there are a couple of reasons why. And most of the cameras now being sold are mirrorless cameras, and part of it may be the sales strategy of the camera industry. Not sure about that. Anyway, so what are some of the pros? Live exposure preview. And the electronic viewfinder shows you exactly what your image will look like, including exposure and color, before you click the shutter. The other thing is, and a lot of people don't think about this, but when you're using a DSLR with a mirror in it, when you take that photograph, for that moment that that image is being shot, the mirror blocks your vision of the scene. So if you're taking, shooting like pans, if you're panning a car, a vehicle, or something like that, for that period that you're following it, you're going to be looking at a black viewfinder because the mirror's going to be in the way. With a mirrorless camera, that doesn't happen. There's no mirror. It's constant viewing. So That's just another thing. The mirrorless cameras have some advanced autofocus features, and they cover nearly 100% of the frame for autofocus. And modern tracking uses AI, like you said, for real-time eye, face, and animal detection. Now, that's also coming to DSLRs. So they're not being left behind in that area too much. Size and weight, that's another thing. The size and weight of a mirrorless camera is smaller and lighter than a DSLR because obviously they don't have the mirror mechanism, the prism, and all that stuff stuck in there. So, yeah, there are advantages in that respect. Although I haven't found my mirrorless camera to be, that much smaller or that much lighter. And besides, when you attach the lens, it's still a heavy lens, still the same weight. So once you attach the lens, a lot of that is lost. Anyway, just my opinion on that score. Video and burst rates. They offer higher continuous shooting, high frame rates, and superior 4K, 8K video recording with minimal rolling shutter problems. So that's another thing that, is an advantage. Now, that pretty well covers the pros. The cons, battery life. Because you're using an electronic viewfinder, your battery life is going to suffer a little bit. And the sensor requires constant power. So they tend to drain much faster on a mirrorless camera, generally speaking. Sensor dust. And this is one thing that bugs me because if I change lenses, the sensor's exposed. And, I could have dust. I could be in a dusty environment. So, yeah. And that's where I prefer zoom lenses so I don't have to change it as much. But anyway, they can get dusty very quickly. The cost, the newer technology, advanced internals generally make mirrorless bodies more expensive. There's no way around it. Of course, anything new is going to be more expensive. That price, I think, will come down as the mirrorless market catches on a lot more. The electronic viewfinder lag. In extremely low light, electronic viewfinders can suffer from slight lag or digital noise because you're looking at if you're looking at high ISO, guess what? You're looking at high ISO in the electronic viewfinder because it's looking at what the sensor is looking at. So, yeah, there's that. And that pretty well covers everything that I wanted to cover about the mirrorless versus DSLR. And I don't know if any of you had experience. I know, Steve, you probably have, but any comments on that?
Yeah, so I switched over to mirrorless like within the last year. So I just wanted to show you. Ooh, I almost dropped it. Wanted to show you, you were talking about the size comparisons. So they're almost the same size, like the two camera models I have. So hang on, I'm kind of screwed up. Here we go. So
Yeah.
this is the mirrorless. Wow, I'm really screwing myself up here. This is the mirrorless, this is the DSLR. So you can see their sizes are kind of similar. And I don't know, it's been kind of a journey figuring out. Like I used DSLRs for years and years. Like I did some wedding photography with them and stuff like that. I found I could use the DSLR faster. Like all my settings, everything was boom, boom, boom. I can take a picture. Whereas the mirrorless, I'm always screwing around with settings and buttons and stuff like that. So, which is, it can be cumbersome and finicky, but I've kind of got used to using this one. I got the Canon R5 Mark II. So it's Canon's latest, one of their best top of the line mirrorless cameras. So, I was gonna say the issue that I am having with this, and I think it doesn't pertain to all mirrorless cameras. It's just this model is I'm having trouble focusing with it. Like it's yeah, Annette is agreeing with me there, but the focusing, it's irritating. Like it'll focus behind the subject, it'll focus in front of the subject, and then all of a sudden the focusing will change on its own. Like it'll select like not in the center of the frame. So, and I was thinking to myself, if I had to do a wedding and that camera is doing that, it's gonna really mess me up. So that's one issue that I have with that. That's the biggest issue I have with my camera. But I don't know if it's just a Canon thing with that model, because I have another Canon mirrorless. I got the Canon RP, which Scott uses, and I find that one's good. It's simple to use. It doesn't have too many bells and whistles like the R5 does, and I don't have that same focusing issue with that camera. So, and then another thing about the Canon RP is you were talking about dust getting on the sensor there. The RP sensor is exposed at all times, which I'm kind of weirded out by. And from what I was reading online, apparently it's covered with glass. So it's protected anyway. Even if you do get dust on it, you can clean it off fairly easy. And my R5, it's got a shutter that closes over the sensor on this one. So far, no dust issues, but it's more speed and that focusing issue. That's what I've been finding with them. So, and the other thing too, I don't know if it's the older lenses could be causing that focusing problem. I don't know, Annette, if you have RF lenses or if you're using the old EF.
RF.
Okay. Yeah, my Canon RP, I got an RF lens on it and it's been working pretty good.
So I have the R5RC, because I wanted the video.
Yeah.
And then I used to have like the same thing. I had the 70D and the 7D. And then I had my 100 to 400 lens. And then I could, like, there's a bird in the tree. I would be like, boom, I'd be able to find the bird. And it would just, no, I could just zoom in on it easily. Now it finds the leaf in front. But I did make a mistake. I went to Point Pelee with my new setup, and I didn't read up enough about it before I went. So in here I was thrown in with these little warblers. They're little tiny little birds, and I didn't do the eye recognition, the enable eye tracking. And I was just trying to do it the old way that I did it with my old one, just to find like have one point. And oh, it was just terrible. I got no shots. Like it was just terrible. Because the warblers are really moving around. And yeah, so it was just terrible. I'd have to actually, it would get like stuck sort of. And I even like when you push halfway down, then usually like something happens, but it just nothing happens after a while. And then, so I have to like go to something big, like the trunk of a tree in the distance, and then come back to it. But by that time, the bird is gone. And so it was just so frustrating. But since then, I've read up a bit more about it, and I've set up the eye tracking, and it's better. It's better. And I've been trying to get birds in flight. Um, and it does like find the eye in most cases, even though the eye might be smaller, like, but I think like those warblers was really super challenging for it. But yeah, I was out today and I was just trying to get a cardinal shot. I feel like I take so many garbage shots now because I'm not quite getting the focus. And I've tried like all the different settings, like you've got the um full like 100 meter distances. I've tried everything. And then I was talking to a man in the field. He had the same setup I had, and I go, "What do you do?" Like, because I just can't seem to get it. And he goes on manual. He puts
Yeah.
it on manual. You've got this like super fancy camera and everything, and you have to put it on manual. It's just then you really are lost. Then you got if you have a subject like a turtle or something, you're gonna be good. But birds move, so it's
Yeah.
really
Well,
tricky.
the one thing that you can be assured of is that anytime you get into new technology, you have a learning curve.
Yes.
you know, because you're leaving the old stuff behind the way you used to do it. And now with the new technology, and there's lots of it, and they're always changing it. And it just seems like not only with cameras but with programs. Every time they make an update on a program, you have to relearn the program because they move things around or whatever. But it's the same with cameras. There's a learning curve until you get really comfortable with it, and then you're good, and you're going to take some fantastic photographs until they change it again.
Yeah, it
That's
is a
yeah,
learning curve, and I have gotten better. It is, I have to try to figure it out.
yeah.
I sold my old lens so that there's no going back. Um, anyway,
Yeah,
Okay,
same
but
with
I
me.
also, I find also, if I can just add one more thing, the settings are hard to find. Um, so my first moment with it, I was doing like a model shoot. So we had a model, and I'm just trying to, and I had like completely the wrong lens for it because I had only one lens, and it wasn't really for that person, like for a portrait. Um, and then I arrived, and I couldn't look when I attached all the strobe lights and all the trigger and everything. It just went black. And then I asked all the people, some people had Canon around too. I couldn't see through. So I was just like going blind, just shooting just at random and hoping I got some composition that was good. And I asked, like, how do you guys do it? You also have Canon. And then nobody could really help me. We were trying all these different things out and looking at manuals like, online, like, and it wasn't, I even went home that night and I spent hours like trying to find the right words to describe what was happening. And I still didn't really find anything. And then I ended up going to Henry's. And then I said, "Do you have this problem often?" And then it was something very buried in there and with some name that I don't even remember what it was now. But anyway, it was some strange name that I would never have called this problem. And so, yeah, so sometimes things take a while to find what you're doing. But on the good side, um, the photos that it takes is just, I've never had a camera that has beautiful, like just amazing. Every hair or feather and the detail is just amazing. You can crop into it because it's a little bigger. Now I have a full sensor, so you can crop into things. And surprisingly, and I don't know, maybe you guys can help me figure out, but with my old setup, I'd always try to get like if I was doing birds, I wanted that green background for that. Oh, this lens, it works more in steps. Like if the five, though it has it, it is only a little smidgen of a with the other setup, it only allows a little bit. So mostly you're getting 7.1 aperture from a lot of things that is much bigger of an area. If you were to like show what the lens does, you'd have only a little bit at the fives. And then anyway, so but at that, even at that, you get a beautiful, the bouquet is just beautiful. At 7.1, I would not have gotten that. I don't understand why. Maybe because the numbers are different because it was a small, medium sensor to full sensor. But I'm getting beautiful backgrounds with a 7.1 aperture.
Hmm.
Does anybody have any explanation how that works?
Could it
Anybody?
be the new lens you're using?
Sorry?
Could it be that new lens that you're using?
Yeah, like I don't know, maybe you think it's something to do with the lens?
Do you use a prime
Uh,
lens? Sorry.
No, it's a 100 to 500. So it does blur out the background. And I never would have at the number. I was disappointed because I thought, oh, I'm going to be shooting everything at 7.1 now. And that's like inferior to what I had before. But it isn't. It's lovely.
Yeah. So what happens with most lenses is that especially when it comes to depth of field, because that's what you're dealing with, a shallower depth of field. You want the background to be out of focus. Is that there are three things that affect depth of field, obviously. One of them is aperture. The other one is subject to camera distance, which might not apply in your case. But the closer you are to the subject, the less depth of field you have. And the third one is focal length. The longer the focal length, the greater you're going, or I'm sorry, the longer the focal length, the shallower the depth of field will be.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's that, that you can add to the mix.
Yeah. But I don't know. Somehow I feel like it's just, it's magic.
Well,
I
yeah.
don't know, but yeah, you're sorry. It just somehow it gives it now. I don't know. Do the numbers change? Sorry, I'm seeing myself. It throws me off. Okay.
No, what happens
Do
is that the
do the numbers change?
no,
does a 4.5 change when it's a medium sensor to a full sensor? Do those numbers change
well,
somehow?
it's not so much the sensor size, but the the numbers don't change, but the aperture size changes. So, for example, if you set your aperture to f8, that aperture will be a different size in a different focal length lens, even though it stays with f8. As your focal length changes, the aperture size changes. Because what's happening is the aperture at f8 has to allow a certain amount of light in. A longer focal length lens, because it's longer focal length, the light travels further, so there's less light getting to the sensor. It has to be bigger for a longer focal length. The minute you go to a shorter focal length, the aperture goes down. It's still f8 because it's still allowing the same amount of light to arrive at the sensor. So yeah, your focal length has an effect on the actual size of the aperture, but not the number.
Okay. Okay. So maybe because my old one was 100 to 400 and this one's 100 to 500.
Yeah,
And I'm really mostly going to the furthest that I can go to get as close as
absolutely.
possible to some dirt bird. But I'm now into the 400 to 500 zone, which I wasn't before.
Yeah. Now, I noticed
Yeah.
somebody made a comment in here from YouTube that also camera companies are constantly putting out cameras that need so many firmware updates as well as the lens. And that's true. The other comment that this person made is the other issue is some camera companies are restricting third-party lenses. If you have older lenses, you can't use them with the new cameras. So there's that part of it. And I think that probably, Steve, you might be able to say something about that.
So in regards to firmware, I did because I read up on this, it kind of ticked me off. I was out, same thing, shooting birds, and I come home and none of them were in focus, right? But I updated the firmware. It did help a little bit, but it's still doing it. And in regards to the lenses, what he was saying there, I noticed aftermarket companies like Tamron and Sigma. I noticed there's no RF lenses for Canon. Like he's right, they're restricting them building lenses for whatever reason. So, and I noticed even like some of the Canon lenses, it's limited what you can buy still. Like, I don't understand that. So,
Well,
but yeah, if that answers your question, George, I'm not.
yeah, you know what? That again, it's marketing. If they're restricting lenses, it's because I want you to buy our lens, right?
Yeah,
Not Sigma, not Tamron, nothing else. So there's that aspect of it. I think that's pretty cheesy because not everybody can afford the Canon or Nikon lenses, so they'll go to aftermarket
that's right.
lenses. And I know
Yeah.
I'm getting the impression Canon's bad for that.
yeah, I used to use Tamron a lot when I was younger. My first
Oh,
my first 35 millimeter camera was a Miranda, and I had a Tamron lens for it. That thing was sharp, tack sharp. Man, oh man. It wasn't an expensive lens, wasn't an expensive camera, but it was good. That lens was a good lens. And I had no problem with it. So, again, you find your lenses and cameras that suit the type of shooting you're doing. And again, unfortunately, every time you buy something new, there is a bit of a learning curve and getting used to the new equipment. And once you get used to it, you'll do well with it. I mean, they're all designed to give you good photographs in the end, but you're the one that has to take those photographs and get used to the equipment, how to use it, how to use the new focusing systems, and you know the whole enchilada there. But you know what? Photography is still simple. Shutter speed, aperture, ISO. Those are the only three things that control your exposure. The only other thing I ask for from anybody that's giving me a shot, I want proper exposure and I want sharp photographs. Outside of that, creativity is your ballpark. So there we go.
I had some fun with street photography. So I'm just started like getting into that. And then, but all the lenses are so big that I don't blend into the background. I just want to be like just there, no one really noticing me. And I'll just take some quiet little shots with my mirrorless shutter. But when I come and bring the big lenses out, then I everybody just sees me.
Yeah.
And so I went to see what could I get that's small. What's the smallest? So there's a 35 and a 50 millimeter, but they're cheap and their review is that it's not good quality.
Yeah.
So
Did you say street photography?
yeah.
Okay. I thought you said
What?
streak photography.
Oh, street, yeah, no,
Yeah, 'cause I
street.
noticed this new trend of people panning
Oh,
down and exposing. I thought that's what you meant.
oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, yeah, yeah.
So what
Yeah, the motion and camera.
what do you have there, Scott? What did you have in your hand?
It's a prime lens, but it's a Canon. It's an RF, but it's a Canon 28 prime, and it's like it's only that thick, and it's sort of renowned to be very stealth when it's on your camera.
Yeah.
Put it on.
Oh, what is it? A 28?
Yeah,
Are you
28 prime.
yeah, are you using that on a full frame
Oh,
or a crop frame?
Yes, yes, a full frame.
Okay.
and
And it
how's that
wasn't
going?
wasn't very much. Can't remember how much. And then the Nifty 50 is pretty thin too for the Canon.
Yeah. Yeah, they have a
The
two,
prime
okay, the
lenses.
Nifty 50, like the small one like that. I think it was it like $300 or something like that. And then I wanted just one step better. And then again, you're into like two, $3,000.
Yeah.
And then it is bigger again and it's heavy. So yeah.
So we have somebody saying here, I was going to make a switch of camera brands. Then I looked, let's see, at the prices of replacing the lens I use from the older cameras. It was ridiculous cost to replace them. And then they also wrote street photography. You want small point and shoot like the Ricoh GR series camera or Fuji fixed lens camera. Yeah, and I think Nikon makes a smaller camera that has some super zoom. No, Canon does. That has some super zoom capabilities. I forget what the model number is, but it's a smaller camera, less conspicuous unless you rack the lens out. Then it goes really big. But yeah. So street photography is a whole different ball of wax from photographing birds, as you have discovered.
Yeah. That's what I was using the Fuji X100 for street photography. That was my camera of choice.
Yeah.
Or a film, rangefinder.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's something to be said for rangefinder cameras. Now, which rangefinder camera would you be using?
I got a Minolta, an
Okay.
old one. I forget the exact model, but that's what it is, Minolta.
Okay, super. Now, anybody else? Any other comments? Either on DSLR versus mirrorless or any of the topics that we've talked about, lenses, types of shooting.
I have
Scott?
Yeah.
kind of a question.
Mhm.
Like I had the DSLR, the Rebel T7,
Mhm.
and then I started playing with prime lenses, and I was starting to read about the cropping factor, and I bought the first one I bought was the 50 to go shoot live music in a club. Anyways, and someone said that's what you need. But then I started reading up, and I said with the cropping factor, it says the 50 is actually more like an 80. Is that
Mhm.
because the 50 is supposed to be the exactly like your eyesight?
Yeah, that's right.
But if it's more like an 80, then it's not. It was what I was thinking. And
That's
then
ex
my 28 prime is actually more like a 40 45.
Well, it depends on
So
how,
that's
yeah, it depends on how much how much smaller you, if you have uh, the, the smaller sensor, usually it's a 1.6.
sick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you multiply the focal length by 1.6, and that's the effective focal length of that lens for that sensor.
so I'm kind of like, so I buy this 50, and then but I actually bought into like 80
Yeah,
with my, yeah. So I was kind of frustrated about that.
yeah, I can see that.
So that's why I jumped ship into the mirrorless.
Yeah.
So my prime lens was what it said it is.
Okay. Let's see.
I,
Annette?
I don't, maybe maybe I'm talking too much, but I was finding because I was just starting to get into more video things with my old camera. Um, and so I understood that world better because really when you flipped over on the DSLR from uh, photo to video, it was essentially the similar world. Um, but now when you flip over to video, it's there are different all different words. You have instead of ISO, you have iris and zebra, and it's just it's which is great, but it's a lot more learning to figure it all out. The manual is like 978 pages, so it's a whole different video world. Um, it's more like your Red and your RE and all those big uh, cameras, video. So
Okay.
yeah,
So we've had a
so
couple of,
we're learning.
yeah, we've had a couple of comments here. I'm just going to read them. Um, Kelly is saying that DSLR was always an abomination, a dumb product from day one. Don't hold back, Kelly. Okay. Um, and then uh, Izzy says, I have a Nikon mirrorless and DSLR cameras. I use Nikon's F mount f1.4 prime lens on both systems and are fantastic to use. My favorite lens is the Nikkor 105 millimeter f1.4. Yeah, I can see that. And then Kelly says here, 1.6 factor. You sound like a Canon guy, maybe. Maybe. 1.5 is far
maybe.
more common factor. I think Canon's APS-C must be slightly smaller than the standard APS-C. So I don't know if anybody of you are into the actual sizes of APS-C sensors from one company to another, whether there's a difference in APS-C sensors, but um,
I'm not sure either.
yeah,
I was always told 1.6.
yeah,
It's the
that's
same as
Yeah, Canon.
converting miles to kilometers. It's the same formula.
yeah,
So that's how I remember it.
okay. That works. That works for me. Yeah, anything that helps
Yeah.
me remember anything like that, yes, And usually it, the funny thing about it, I'm very practical, and I shouldn't say less technical, because I like the techie side of the things, but not the really technical side, which means that if I look through the lens, I see what that lens is seeing. I don't care if it's a 50 millimeter and it's not really a 50, it's a 1.6, so it's really something else like an 80 or whatever. I don't care. I just want to know what I'm shooting, what the frame size is. What I'm seeing is what I'm getting. That's the important thing to me. I know that there are a lot of people that say, well, the crop sensors are better for sports photography. Really? I mean, only because the focal length is longer? Then why not buy a longer focal length on your full frame camera? Because now you have a full frame camera, which is better. Then they say, well, the argument is, yes, but a mirrorless camera or a crop camera sensor is a little bit smaller. Really? How much smaller? I don't know. I can't see the difference in weight. I mean, yeah, a little heavier for a full frame. Never mind full frame. Go to a medium format. Get some decent shots there. Okay, what do we got here? Let's see. I think okay. The APS-C crop factor at 1.6 are typically for Canon cameras. Thank you for that, Izzy. I appreciate that. And Nikon and Sony APS-C crop factors are typically 1.5. Not a lot of difference there, but still, if you're really into making sure that you know what the focal length is that you are shooting with different sensors, yeah, that is an important factor, that it's not the same for all the sensors. But let's see.
But it was an expensive thing when I went from the DSLR, and I had lenses that were zoom lenses that were not the ones with the red line on it, the ultra, I think they're called. They have the red line,
Yeah,
or and they weren't prime. I only had one prime. Those other zooms, you can't use them because your picture size with the small sender, I don't know exactly what size, but let's say you can make a poster out of it. And now when I use the old lenses on the new camera, it now becomes a very small poster.
yeah.
It didn't give you a full, uh, you had to sacrifice there. So then it was smaller than my old camera. Like, so then it was useless. So then you have to put the money out and buy new lenses.
Okay, I have another comment coming in here from Kelly. Thanks, Kelly. I saw your video about 3 or 4 months ago. You're not a techie guy. There were errors. Oh, I'm sure there were. I'm renowned for some of my errors. But the thing is, and that's one of the reasons we have this chat, because we have people like you who can correct them. And while I'm not particularly techie in certain ways, there are other ways I am. And the ways that I'm not, Kelly, you keep coming around and making sure that we get it right. And it's the same thing with the others that are here. Steve will correct me. Anybody he'll work correct me, and that's why we have this chat, just so that we can have some knowledge, and I can get corrected. Yeah, no problem there. Okay, so Kelly, I'm not sure which video you were looking at, but if you have a chance to look at it later, you can email me and tell me where I went wrong with that one. I could say I make these errors on purpose so you guys can pick them up. Right? Yeah. Okay. Not true. Oh, right. Are there any other questions? We've hit 8 o'clock, and I usually like to reserve this chat for 1 hour. Sometimes it goes longer, especially if we have a presenter who is long-winded, and we've had those, and you can go back and listen to them. A few of them went like an hour and a half or more, and it's hard for people to schedule when it goes overtime. Anyway, listen, Scott, Jocelyn, Steve, David, Annette, and those on YouTube, Izzy and Kelly, thank you very much. And this side towards Lens, thank you very much for participating. I really appreciate you coming on. Make sure that if you're on YouTube, give us a like. I like a like. I don't know if you do, but I do, and it helps. And obviously, subscribe because that helps too. These chats are free, so there's no hooks, nothing else. You don't have to pay for anything. We just come here to share our knowledge, to have some fun, to enjoy ourselves, to enjoy photography, and sometimes actually the people that are here will actually share their photographs. So yeah, I like that too. And sometimes if you let me know ahead of time that you want to share some of your photographs, then please, 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 please let me know and I'll make time for you. Tonight I talked about the DSLR versus mirrorless cameras, but because nobody got in touch with me and said ahead of time, I have some photographs that I can share. If you have photos that you can share, then I'll schedule you in for a Wednesday evening to do that. Now, for those of you that are here and for my faithful attendees who are always here with me, thank you, thank you, thank you. And next week, next Wednesday, I'm taking a breather. I try not to do that, but next Wednesday, grandson is playing lacrosse. Last game, gotta go. So I'm going to attend that. So I won't be here, but the following Wednesday, yeah, we'll be here again. And on the 22nd, remember, on the 22nd, I have Jeff Shaw coming in, and he's going to be talking about wedding photography, his approach, and how he does his weddings. So be here for that. At any rate, I'm going to say goodnight. Thank you for coming, and I appreciate that you took the time out on a wonderful evening. I'm just looking out the window. It's wonderful here. I even thought about doing this broadcast from outside instead of at the black brick wall, but it's just easier in here. All the equipment's in here, so I'm going to do it from here. I do have a new microphone. Never had a microphone that was dedicated to this. I hope it sounds good. And yeah, yeah, yeah. I actually thought about putting on my radio voice and giving you a weather forecast tonight, and it's going to be dark. Thank you. All right. Let's see. Anybody else make any other comments here before I leave?
Yeah, there's some.
Yep. Okay. I'm going to post those comments. And right now, let's see. Have I posted that? Yeah. For Canon lenses, I've already posted that one. And this one, 1.6 factor. Yeah. And this one, when I switched from Canon to Sony, the math was thus 1.5 crop factor. And Izzy says APS crop factor at 1.6 are typically for Canon. Yes, thank you very much, Izzy. And Nikon and Sony APS. And Kelly says, I saw your video. Okay, yeah, we've seen that. 50 versus 60% is significantly different, in my humble opinion. Not that I can eyeball that, but it's different. It doesn't matter. 10% is 10%. And I will say, yes, that is relevant when you look at it that way. Got clickbaited last time with the allure of boudoir photography. Okay. Let's see. We've only had Michael Nash, I believe, is the only one that actually had some semi-boudoir photography on here. Although I've had a couple of other people who wanted to do a presentation on boudoir photography. But I like to see what they're going to be showing so that I know ahead of time what's going out there. Now, let's see. Mirrorless should have always been the path forward. DSLR was junk, always a bad idea. Again, I like your frankness. Thank you very much. Yeah. Yay, let's see Hamilton. Okay. So, any photographs of Hamilton? And I can hear you better than usual. Oh, this is my beautiful mic. Yes.
Oh, wait, now we don't hear you. No, there's
There
no
you go.
sound.
You know, this thing is so sensitive. I touched it, and it cuts me off, just like that.
Oh,
The other thing it has, which I don't use, is I have. Is it coming on?
Yeah.
Okay, it's oh, there it goes. It has
Lights.
colors. I have a whole kaleidoscope of colors on this thing,
let's see.
but I turn that off because I don't have running lights in the corner of the room or anything like that either. So yeah. Kelly's really rubbing it in tonight. My mic turned off, not a techie. Well, Kelly, I mean, I do my best. What can I say? Um, this program that I'm using has so many buttons and so many things that it's so easy to get discombobulated here very easily, and mute myself. And of course, this is the first time I use this microphone. But if I just stroke it a little bit, it turns off. So what can I say? Yeah, it's a touch sensitive by design. Again, yeah, maybe by design. I prefer a switch. I really do. Click and it's on, click and it's off. Because the other one is so touchy. And I'm glad to hear you're just playing around. I know, and so am I for the most time. We come here, I don't know about you guys, but I come here to talk about photography, to look at your photographs, and to have fun with it. Because I think that, listen, there's a technical part to photography, there's a creative part to photography, and then there is a juicy, fun part to photography. And I encourage any of my students or people that will listen to me, enjoy your photography, have fun with it. Yeah, it's important that you get good photographs. Yes, it's important that, they're sharp, they're properly exposed, but it should be fun. All of that should be fun and enjoyable, because that's what it's all about in the long run. Okay, Kelly, you have the last word. Yeah, I'd want to switch to creeping. What futurism is often not fun. Glad you got a better mic. So much better. Thank you. But when I first got the mic, I didn't want it in the picture. I wanted it down here, which was about 12 inches away from me, but the volume was so low that everybody else was loud. I was quiet. So now it has to be about 6 inches from me. And that's what they say in the instructions, that it should be 8 to 6 inches. This thing's 3 inches from me. So yeah, I don't mind it in the picture. A lot of the blogs that I see, they've got great big, huge honking mics, and they're always in the picture. So I guess I'm right in there with all of them, even though I'd rather not have it in the picture. But there you go. Anyway, folks, thank you very much for being here. Oh, is that Helen? Haven't seen you since my Mohawk days. You haven't aged a bit. Looking good, Jorj. Thank you. I needed that tonight. Okay. That's always favorable for me. Anyway, don't forget the like and the subscribe. Please subscribe. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thanks, George.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Mm.